If you're a normal human being, chances are you hate training. Because let's be honest, only psychopaths love training. But what if I told you that I could get you addicted to training? In this video, I'm going to share one trick with you, just one, that will make training so fun it feels like a video game. Now, if you say you hate training, chances are you don't hate the training itself. You just hate how the training makes you feel because you can't seem to resonate with it. Let me explain. You see, the one thing that video games do really well is that the levels in the game always match your ability. The first few levels are always tutorials. The enemies are weak as hell and you get to practice your skills on them without dying way too often. Once you get the hang of it, the levels gradually get harder, but they still remain within your skill level. This is known as the challenge skill balance, and when the challenge that you face is a 7 out of 10 difficulty, you go into something known as the flow state. I go into this in a lot more detail in this video, so check it out here. But the thing is, in the world of football, we sometimes get this horribly wrong. We go on Instagram and TikTok and we see all these fancy skills and we think that we need to be able to do all of them if we want to become a professional. So when you step out there to do something as simple as a cone weave and you mess up, you beat yourself up about it because you can't even get through something that simple, and there are kids out there that are doing like the Rainbow 3000. So instead of wasting your time, here's the tactic. This is called ground up training. Think of it as, in order to take 2 steps forward, you first have to take 1 step back. Ground up training requires you to put your ego aside so that you can rework on the fundamentals. You need to revert back to the basics and build your way up. Now, before you click off this video because you only want to do the hard things and you only want to train like a pro, hear me out. Just because you're reverting back to the basics and the fundamentals, it does not mean that you're wasting your time. In fact, this could be exactly what you need to level up your game. Before 2025, I was slow as shit. And I'm not even exaggerating. There was a point where I was left out of the national team selection process because the head coach thought that I was too slow to be a striker. I genuinely looked like I used to sprint with bricks on my back. So in 2024, when I was in university, I met up with a lecturer of mine who used to be a national level runner. I wanted to improve my speed. I wanted to get faster. And he suggested that I do speed drills and I work on my mechanics instead of just sprinting away. And this was the exact advice that I found when I was doing my own research on YouTube. But at that time, I was resistant to it because hopping on one foot can't exactly make you faster, can it? My ego couldn't accept the fact that I wasn't sprinting properly. After all, what kind of an athlete doesn't know how to sprint properly? But now, since I was getting the exact same advice from my lecturer, I decided that I'd give it a go. And in the first few weeks, nothing really happened. But then over the next few months, my body adapted to the movements and all of a sudden, sprinting felt so much easier. I felt like I was flying. My 20-meter sprint went from 4 seconds to 3.12 seconds in just 6 months. And that only came from stepping away from the hard work and doing what was easy. Now, I believe that with social media and the hustle culture, it can get very easy to suck into the feeling that you need to do what is hard. And if you're not doing what is hard, then you're not leveling up. But sometimes you're at the stage where revisiting what is easy and perfecting that can actually bring you way more benefits than just forcing your way through the hard things. Think about the pro footballers. They have spent their entire lives playing football. They have mastered basically every skill that you can think of, but they still show up day in, day out to train. Why? Well, because no matter how good your passing range is or how many skills you know, you still have to practice your 1 and 2 touch passing. There are things out there in the world that are difficult to obtain. But just because they are difficult to obtain, it does not make them valuable. If you can do the easy things and get the exact results that you want, do that. Not doing the hard things might have you feeling left out, but that's all it is, a feeling. You need to do what's right for you based on the place and the season that you're in. Think of it as sharpening a saw before cutting the tree. Sure, you can sharpen the saw before you cut the tree so that it makes your work more efficient, but there comes a point where you would need to resharpen the saw. It doesn't make you a bad woodcutter, it just makes you a more efficient one. And here's the thing about revisiting the fundamentals that people don't understand. When you first set out to master the basics, that's all you're trying to do. You're just trying to master them. By hook or by crook, you want to be able to do them because you want to be able to participate in the sport. But when you do revisit them, there's always something to learn from it. Maybe you angle your body slightly differently. Maybe you use a slightly different part of your foot to hit the ball. Or maybe you just pass the ball harder and you learn to control the ball at a higher speed. But there's always something to look forward to when you do go back to the basics and try to practice it again. And you might think that you're really good at the fundamentals, but you might only be really good at doing it in one particular way. For example, you might be really good at controlling the ball when there's no pressure around you, but if someone hits an 80-yard ping and there's a defender on your back, all of a sudden you have the touch of a trampoline. You might be able to pass the ball 20 yards out, but if a 40-yard grass cutter was required of you, you'd probably shank the ball out of the stadium. That does not make you a good passer, nor does it mean that you have good ball control. But if you're willing to work on passing the ball and controlling the ball in those situations, you would get a lot better a lot faster. But you would need to also put your ego aside and get the basics right. And you want to know the best part about it? If you are unwilling to do it, chances are other footballers out there are also unwilling to do it. And if this doesn't motivate you to want to do it even more, I don't know what will. Allow yourself to be a beginner again. There are things out there that you have overlooked that you might notice this time around, and you would be a much better footballer for it. Just because you're reverting back to the basics, it does not mean that you're starting from scratch. You can only start from scratch once, and you've already done that. Now you'll be building on the experience and the fundamentals that you already have. And if you don't want to go all the way back, ask yourself, what am I really, truly confident in? And be really honest with this answer, because if you're not honest, you might as well just go all the way back and start from there. And when you do have an answer, you can start from that point instead of starting all the way back from the basic, and you can build your way up from there. And if you do this, I promise you, you will love your training again. Thank you for watching. I hope you've gained something valuable from this video.